Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to the Mind's Eye, and thank you all for tuning in. So tonight's video, I'm going to go through all the Kiss studio albums and give you my favorite and least favorite song off of each. I am going to count Alive 2, Killers, and Smashes, Thrashes, and Hits because those albums did have original songs on them, but I'm not going to count Alive or Alive 3 or Double Platinum or anything like that, MTV Unplugged, because those were all sort of repeat songs. They didn't have any originals attached to them. So just the studio albums plus the albums that had original songs. So let's go right down the line here, starting off with the first album. We're just going to take this in order here. The debut album. There's a good 4 songs on here that I can go to. I like Cold Gin a lot. I like Deuce, 100,000 Years, and Black Diamond. I would say 100,000 Years is probably my favorite one. That's close though. I think Deuce and Black Diamond are really nipping at its heels. But I'm going to say 100,000 Years is my favorite from the first album. My least favorite is most definitely Kissin' Time. It's my least favorite song that Kiss has ever put out. If you wanted to go with the original pressing of this, I would then say that Love Theme from Kiss is my least favorite. But at least I like Love Theme from Kiss. I don't really care for Kissin' Time at all. So 100,000 Years is my favorite. Kissin' Time is my least favorite. Next up, we have Hotter Than Hell, released in 1974. Great album. My favorite song in here has got to be Parasite. Killer guitar riff from Ace Frehley. Love the solo. I mean, Parasite is just a killer song. One of my favorites in the Kiss catalog. And it's really hard to pick a least favorite because I like everything on here. I love every track on here, actually. I mean, I guess I would say Mainline's probably my least favorite, but I still think that's a really good song. Great album. So, Hotter Than Hell. My favorite, Parasite. My least favorite, Mainline. Next up, we have Dressed to Kill. Another great album. And I've gone through a lot of favorites on this album. I mean, at one point in time, I'd have gone Room Service, Rock Bottom. Anything from My Baby was my favorite at one point. Love Her All I Can. But over the years, I've really started to like Getaway quite a bit. It's kind of turned into one of my favorite Kiss songs. Written by Ace Frehley, sung by Criss. I think it's a really cool song. So I'd say it's my favorite on this album. My least favorite, again, I like every song on here. But if I had to pick a least favorite, it'd be Ladies in Waiting. So I'm going to go with Getaway as my favorite. Ladies in Waiting is my least favorite. Next up is Destroyer, released in 1976. And again, great album. This is the first Kiss album I ever owned. And my favorite song on here is King of the Nighttime World, which is my all-time favorite Kiss song. Detroit Rock City, one of my favorites as well. But King of the Nighttime World has pretty much always been my favorite Kiss song. There's just something about that song that's just always grabbed me and always captivated me to this day. My least favorite, pretty easily Great Expectations. It's the only song on here I don't care for. So I'm going to go King of the Nighttime World is my favorite, and Great Expectations is my least favorite. Next up, I'm going to go with Rock and Roll Over, also released in 1976. Another great album. I've had a number of favorite songs off this one over the years. When I was younger, Ladies Room used to be my favorite. I Want You was my favorite at one point. Hard Luck Woman. But another song that I've always liked on here that I see often gets regarded as being one of the weaker tracks is See You in Your Dreams. But I'd have to say, lately, that's been my favorite. Really dig that song. Always liked it. But I say lately it's been taking the cake on this album for me. My least favorite song, when I was younger, it used to be Baby Driver, but I've grown to love that track. I would say my least favorite now is Love 'Em Leave 'Em, even though it's not a bad song. But I'm going to go with that as my least favorite. See You in Your Dreams, my favorite. Love 'Em Leave 'Em, my least favorite. And next up, we have Love Gun, released in 1977. Another great album. Another album that just has a lot to choose from as far as favorites go. I Stole Your Love, Shock Me, Tomorrow and Tonight, Love Gun, Plaster Caster, Hooligan. But I'm going to give the edge to I Stole Your Love, I think. That guitar riff at the beginning of the song is just such a killer riff. Great way to kick off the album. Just fun, energetic, rocking track. I'm going to give that one the edge. My least favorite is Christine 16. I think it comes down to that and Got Love for Sale. But I'm going to go Christine 16. Not a bad song. I mean, but I'm going to say it's probably definitely my least favorite. And no, I didn't forget Hooligan. I actually like Hooligan a lot. And I do like Then She Kissed Me. So the two unpopular tracks on here, I like them both. So I'm going to say I Stole Your Love is my favorite. Christine 16, my least favorite. And of those first 6 Kiss albums, I mean, Kissin' Time and Great Expectations are really the only 2 songs I don't care for. The other 4 albums, I like every song on, even the one that I called my least favorite. So that brings us to Alive 2. There's 5 studio songs at the end of this album on the 4th disc, or the 4th side of vinyl, if you will. You got All American Man, Rockin' in the USA, Larger Than Life, Rocket Ride, and Any Way You Want It. I'm going to be honest, I don't think any of these are top shelf Kiss. They're all fine. I think Rocket Ride is the best of the bunch by a long shot. My least favorite, I would have to say, is Rockin' in the USA. But that being said, I don't think any of them are terrible, but at the same time, I don't think any of them are necessarily top shelf Kiss either. Rocket Ride easily my favorite, and Rockin' in the USA my least. It's going to bring us to the solo albums. We have Paul Stanley's, released in 1978. My favorite, as I said on my review, is Wouldn't You Like to Know Me. Pretty much always has been. It's Alright is usually there nipping on its heels, but always dug Wouldn't You Like to Know Me quite a bit. My least favorite is Ain't Quite Right. Edging out Hold Me, Touch Me, which I think at least has a few redeeming qualities. Ain't Quite Right's just one that's never done anything for me. So Wouldn't You Like to Know Me, my favorite, and Ain't Quite Right, my least favorite. Next up, we have Gene Simmons' solo album, released in 1978. My favorite song here by a country mile is See You Tonight. Love that song. Very Beatles-esque, very laid back. Really, really love it. The only other song that's even in the ballpark with it is Radioactive. Other than that, I do like See You in Your Dreams, but I like the Rock and Roll Over version better. Past that, there's a lot of contenders for least favorite on here. I mean, you know, I could kind of go the route that most people go, which is When You Wish Upon a Star, and I could definitely call that. I could also go with Living in Sin. I don't like, and Tunnel of Love. I'm gonna go with Living in Sin. It's tough between those 3, but I'm gonna go Living in Sin is my least favorite. See You Tonight, my favorite. Next up, we have Peter Criss solo album, released in 1978. Not a bad album. I don't really think I like anything on here as much as See You Tonight. I don't think it hits the lows as Gene's album either. My favorite song on here by a wide margin is I Can't Stop the Rain. Fantastic song. My least favorite, probably Tossin' and Turnin'. So I'm going to say I Can't Stop the Rain is my favorite, and Tossin' and Turnin' my least favorite. Next up, we have Ace Frehley's solo album, released in 1978. Killer album. My favorite song here is Rip It Out, even though you got Snowblind and What's on Your Mind right there next to it. But I'm going to go Rip It Out as my favorite, and I'm in Need of Love is my least favorite. It's the only song on here that I'm not, like, crazy about, but still not a bad song. So I'm in Need of Love my least favorite, and Rip It Out my favorite. Next up, we have Dynasty, released in 1979. Great album. I like every song on here, so it's going to be tough picking a least favorite. My favorite comes down to one of Ace's 2 songs, either 2000 Man or Hard Times. And I'm going to give the edge to 2000 Man because I probably revisit that song more often, but Hard Times is great as well. My least favorite song on here, again, I like every song, but I'm going to say my least favorite is Charisma. Not a bad song by any means, but I'm going to go with 2000 Man as my favorite, and Charisma is my least favorite. Next up, we have Unmasked, released in 1980. I've gone through a number of songs on this one that have been my favorite at one point. Is That You, Shandy, Talk to Me, She's So European. But I'm going to say Tomorrow is my favorite on this album right now. I've gone through a couple different phases with Tomorrow. I think it's a pretty cool, catchy pop song. My least favorite on here has pretty much always been Easy As It Seems. So I'm going to go with Tomorrow is my favorite, and Easy as It Seems is my least favorite. Next up, we have Music from the Elder, released in 1981. Another album that I like every song on. And for the longest time, I would have said I is my favorite song on here. But over the last couple of years, I'm starting to maybe sway back toward The Oath. So I'm going to go with The Oath as my favorite. My least favorite, again, I like every song, but I have to say my least favorite is probably Mr. Blackwell. So I'm going to go with The Oath as my favorite, and Mr. Blackwell is my least favorite. That brings us to Killers, a compilation released, I want to say in 82, 81 or 82, right after Music from the Elder, right before Creatures of the Night. Had 4 new songs on it: I'm a Legend Tonight, Down on Your Knees, Nowhere to Run, and Partners in Crime. None of them are bad. I would say my favorite is Down on Your Knees. My least favorite is probably Partners in Crime, but like I said, none of them are bad. But as far as the 4 originals go, I'm going to go with Down on Your Knees, my favorite, and Partners in Crime, my least favorite. Next up, we have Creatures of the Night, released in 1982. Great album. I think it comes down to the title track and I Love It Loud, my 2 favorite songs on here. I would probably give the edge to I Love It Loud. Never get sick of that song. My least favorite is the one song on here that's never quite grown on me, which is I Still Love You. So I'm going to go with I Love It Loud as my favorite, and I Still Love You as my least favorite. Entering the non-makeup era, we have Lick It Up, released in 1983. Again, another album that I like every song on. You got Exciter, you've got Young and Wasted, you've got On the Eighth Day. But I'm going to give the edge to All Hell's Breaking Loose. Always dug that song quite a bit. My least favorite being Dance All Over Your Face. Not a bad song, but probably to me the weakest one on the album. So I'm going to go All Hell's Breaking Loose is my favorite, with Dance All Over Your Face being my least favorite. Next up, we have Animalize from 1984. Underrated album. My favorite song on here is the opener, I've Had Enough Into the Fire. In my opinion, one of the most underrated songs Kiss has ever done. My least favorite, pretty much always been Lonely is the Hunter, but that's a song that has grown on me over the years. I actually quite enjoy it now. I used to not really care for it back when I was younger, but I enjoy it now, but it's still my least favorite. So I'm going to go I've Had Enough Into the Fire is my favorite, and Lonely is the Hunter is my least favorite. Next up is Asylum, released in 1985. My favorite song on here is probably Any Way You Slice It. I always dug that song quite a bit. With my least favorite being All Night. Again, I like every song on Asylum, but I'm going to go with Any Way You Slice It as my favorite, and All Night is my least. Next up, we have Crazy Nights, released in 1987. My favorite song on here is going to be the title track, Crazy Crazy Nights, one of my favorite Kiss songs. Also love My Way a lot, Enter on the Night, Reason to Live, they'd all be up there as well. Crazy Crazy Nights is one of my favorite Kiss songs. I'm going to say it's my favorite on here. With my least favorite song, I'm going to go with Girl Gone Bad. I would say to me it's like the most bland song on the album, so I'm going to go Crazy Crazy Nights as my favorite, and Girl Gone Bad is my least. That brings us to Smashes, Thrashes, and Hits, released in 1988. There's 2 original tracks on here. Let's Put the X in Sex and You Make Me Rock Hard. I think the better one of the 2 is most definitely Rock Hard. I don't think that's a bad song at all. I'm not a fan of Let's Put the X in Sex, so I'm going to say Rock Hard is my favorite and X in Sex is my least. That brings us to Hot in the Shade, released in 1989. Again, number of songs on here that have been my favorite at one point in time or another. Hide Your Heart, Love's a Slap in the Face, Cadillac Dreams, Little Caesar. But I'm going to go with Prisoner of Love. And kind of like Unmasked, I've kind of gone through a bunch of different phases with Prisoner of Love, but I'd say right now, that's the one doing it for me. Song I never hear get talked about a lot, but I always dug it quite a bit. My least favorite is not Read My Body. For everybody expecting that to be it. I'm not saying that Read My Body is a great song, because it's not, but I don't think it's quite as bad as some people make it out to be. I never could get into The Street Giveth and The Street Taketh Away. I mean, I think Read My Body is at least somewhat catchy. Street Giveth and Street Taketh Away is just one that I could never get into. So that's my least favorite, with Prisoner of Love being my favorite. Moving on to Revenge in 1992. My favorite song on here is the album opener, Unholy. Killer song. Killer way to start this album. Great track. Paralyzed would be right behind it. My least favorite on here, though, is Spit, a song that I never could get into. So I'm going to take Unholy as my favorite and Spit as my least. Next up, we have Carnival of Souls, released in 1997. My favorite song on here has got to be Master and Slave. Fantastic track. I don't think there's a bad song on here, but I have to say my least favorite comes down to either Seduction of the Innocent or I Confess. And I'm going to say Seduction of the Innocent is going to wind up being my least favorite, with Master and Slave being my favorite. That brings us to the reunion album, Psycho Circus, released in 1998. My favorite song on here, as I believe I mentioned in my album ranking, is Raise Your Glasses. My least favorite song on here is Dreaming. Never liked Dreaming. I don't know what it is, but that's one of my least favorite Kiss songs. I just could never get into it. So that's my least favorite. Raise Your Glasses is my favorite. Next up, we have Sonic Boom. My favorite song on here is Modern Day Delilah, as I believe most people's probably is. And my least favorite, I'm going to go with When Lightning Strikes. So Modern Day Delilah, my favorite. When Lightning Strikes, my least favorite. And that brings us to Monster, released in 2012. Great album. A lot of great songs on here. A lot of contenders. Wall of Sound, Back to the Stone Age, Long Way Down, Out of This World, Take Me Down Below. But I'm going to say Hell or Hallelujah is going to hold on to being my favorite song on here. My least favorite's pretty easy. It's Eat Your Heart Out. It's the only song on this album I don't like. So that being said, we got Eat Your Heart Out, my least favorite, and Hell or Hallelujah as my favorite. So please let me know in the comments below what your favorite and least favorite song on each Kiss album is. It's perfectly fine if you disagree with my list. These are just my opinions, so please keep that in mind. If you like this kind of content, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more videos like this in the future, and I'll see you then.